Okay, what's up, guys? I got a pretty good one for you today. I changed it up from last time. This one's about a fire, but is it just a fire? Well, that's what we're here to find out. As you know, I'm Sketch, and this is case file number 2. So let's start with the first page of the file. Christmas Eve, 1945, West Virginia. Middle of the night, everybody's asleep. And I mean, it's Christmas. The kids have their new toys. The whole house is cozy. And then it catches fire. Mom, Dad, and 4 of the kids make it out. But 5 of the kids are still upstairs, and they don't come down. The whole house burns to the ground in about 45 minutes. Gone. So the next morning, once it cools off, investigators go through the ashes to recover those 5 kids. And this is the part that gets me. Because they find nothing, no bodies, no bones, not a single one. And I know what you're thinking. Big fire. Maybe it just burned them up. No. Fires don't do that. I've got a whole page later that proves a house fire can't do that. Hold that thought. So now these parents are standing outside on Christmas morning with a question that's going to follow them the rest of their lives. Did their 5 kids die in that fire, or did somebody take them and make it look like they did? So let's back up. Who were these people? The Sodders of Fayetteville, West Virginia. George, Jenny, and their 10 kids. Well, 10 kids total, but the oldest boy, Joe, was away serving in the army, so that Christmas, 9 of them were home. That's the 4 who made it out, plus the 5 who didn't. Big family, happy house, pretty well off. George came over from Italy as a kid and built a whole trucking business from nothing. But there's a note here that matters. George had one thing that made him enemies. He hated Mussolini, the dictator running Italy at the time. And he didn't keep it quiet. He'd argue about it loudly in a town with a big Italian community where a lot of people didn't agree. Hold on to that, because the file keeps coming back to it. Because a couple of months before Christmas, the warnings start. First one. A stranger comes by selling life insurance. George turns him down. And the guy gets angry and says, and this is documented, your house is going up in smoke, and your children are going to be destroyed. And then he ties it to what George had been saying about Mussolini. Yeah. Your children are going to be destroyed is not a sales pitch. That's a threat with a clipboard. Then there's a second visitor. Some guy wandering the property, pointing at the fuse boxes, saying they're going to cause a fire one day. Which is strange because the power company had just checked the wiring and said it was fine. And the last warning is the one that gets me. In the weeks before Christmas, the older Sodder boys keep noticing a car, parked out on the road, men just sitting in it, watching the little kids walk home from school. So the file's got a threat, a fake fire warning, and a car full of men watching the children. If I read this in a movie script, I'd say it's too on the nose. Nobody did anything. It was 1945, different time. Okay, let's pause and take all that in. Okay, good. All right, let's keep going. The kids get to stay up late with their new toys on Christmas Eve. And around midnight, the phone rings. Jenny answers. It's a woman's voice she doesn't recognize, asking for some name she's never heard. And in the background, laughing. Weird laughing, glasses clinking, like a party. Wrong number, she figures. Except on her way back to bed, she notices the downstairs lights are still on, the curtains are open, and the front door is unlocked. She locks up and goes to sleep, and then 1 a.m. A loud bang on the roof. And then a rolling sound. Something rolling across the top of the house. A bang, then something rolling. On the roof at 1 in the morning. I don't love that. Moving on before I think about it too hard. Half an hour later, Jenny wakes up to smoke. There's a fire in George's office and it's spreading fast. The stairs are already burning and 5 kids are asleep up there. So the family goes into rescue mode. And this is where the file stops looking like an accident. Jenny goes for the phone to call for help. dead. And they find out later the phone line wasn't burned. It was cut. Somebody climbed the pole and cut it. George runs outside for the big ladder that always leans against the house. Gone. It turns up later about 75 feet away, down an embankment. Then George thinks, I'll drive one of my work trucks up to the house and climb to the window. Neither truck starts, both of them. They ran perfectly the day before. One thing failing is bad luck. The phone, the ladder, and both trucks. All on the same night? That's not luck. That's a checklist. The fire department was short on people. It was wartime. So by the time anyone showed up, the house was already gone. 45 minutes. And the parents stood out in the snow with 4 of their kids and watched it burn. Now here's the part the whole case hangs on, and I'll keep it simple. Next morning, the fire chief goes through the ashes for the 5 kids. No remains, nothing. And look, I've read enough of these files now to tell you, house fires leave something. This one supposedly erased 5 children in under an hour. A crematorium runs hotter and longer, and it still leaves bone. Jenny knew that too. There's a note in here that she tested it herself. Burned animal bones over and over, and they never fully disappeared. That mom turned her grief into a science experiment to prove the official story was wrong. Respect. But the officials ruled it faulty wiring and closed it. Faulty wiring on a house whose Christmas lights stayed on while it burned. If the wiring shorted out, where was the power coming from? Oh, and one more note on that. The jury that ruled it an accident, the insurance salesman, the one who made the threat, he was on it. I'm going to keep reading before I say something I regret. So a few days later, George, and I get why, he's drowning. He wants it over, so he bulldozes 5 feet of dirt over the whole site to make a memorial garden, which, unfortunately, buried the crime scene. Years later, they dig it up, find a few bone fragments, send them to a specialist. And the report comes back. The bones were never touched by fire. And they're from someone in their late teens, older than any of the missing kids. Best guess? They came in with the dirt George trucked over, so the one piece of evidence was never evidence. And then there's the box. This is the one. The fire chief tells a minister he found a heart in the ashes and buried it in a metal box at the site. George digs the box up, has it looked at, and it's beef liver from a butcher. Never been near fire. Somebody planted meat in the ashes, the theory being so the family would find remains, accept the kids were dead, and stop asking questions. Make sense in a world where those kids just died in an accident. I'll wait. The Sodders never bought it. The state called the case hopeless. The FBI looked at it and dropped it. So in 1952, George and Jenny did something that still gets me. They put up a billboard. Right there on the highway at the site. 5 kids' faces. A reward that started at $5,000 and climbed to 10. And one question, hanging over that road for decades, what happened to them? And tips came in. A woman said she saw the kids watching the house burn from a passing car that night. A diner worker said she served them breakfast the next morning. Car had Florida plates. A hotel owner said she saw them a week later, with adults who spoke Italian. None of it ever confirmed. But all of it, just barely possible. That's what gets me. And then, 1968. More than 20 years after the fire, an envelope shows up at the house. Postmarked Kentucky. No return address. Inside, no letter, no note, no demand, and just a photograph. A grown man, around 30. And the second Jenny sees his face, it's Louis. Her Louis. He was 9 the night of the fire. Same eyes, same nose. All grown up. On the back, someone wrote, Louis Sodder. I love Brother Frankie. Elo Boys. A 900132. And to this day, nobody knows what those numbers mean. Nobody knows who sent it. Nobody knows why then. The Sodders hired a private detective sent him to Kentucky to find the man in that photo. The detective never reported back. He was never heard from again. I need you to know I did not make any of that up. It's all in the file. The photo is real. You can look it up after this. I wouldn't do it at night, though. George died in 1969, still looking. Jenny wore black every day for the rest of her life and kept that billboard up until she passed in 1989. Only then did it come down. And Sylvia, the baby of the family, barely more than a toddler that night. She spent her whole life keeping the case alive. She passed in 2021. She never once believed her brothers and sisters died in that fire. So here's your jury duty for tonight. Theory 1. The fire killed them, the scene got botched, and grief filled in the rest. Theory 2. The fire was a cover. The cut phone line, the missing ladder, the dead trucks, the threat, the watching car, and 5 kids left that property alive. Theory 1 asks you to believe a house fire erased 5 children in 45 minutes. Theory 2 asks you to believe somebody stole 5 kids on Christmas Eve, and the whole world just let it happen. I genuinely don't know which one scares me more. Drop your verdict in the comments, and if you have any idea what A900132 means, I'm listening. And hey, go hug your people tonight. That one's not a bit. I'm Sketch. That was case 2. I'll see you in the next file. If you miss case 1, I swear, the family that heard footsteps in their attic, it's on your screen right now, and it's worse than it sounds. Hit subscribe. Sketch's files stay open.